There's been a lot of things that have happened nationally and locally that we've seen play out over the past few months.
The threat of North Korea.
Mass shootings.
The pension situation.
Lately, Frankfurt's kept us busy.
We've done a lot of extensive reporting on all of that.
The national movement that we've seen about sexual harassment has come here.
The plane crash in Somerset that killed 4 people.
The night that the city decided to remove the Confederate statues from downtown.
What happened in August, the natural disasters of the hurricanes and the floods.
Some stories cross over between sports and news, and you know, the whole Rick Pitino and Louisville thing, that was something that we as an entire station covered.
Kentucky will play South Carolina tomorrow morning.
Rob Bromley retired this year. 4 decades of being the face, the voice, the opinion, the man of WKYT Sports.
It's never easy.
The way the UK baseball team made a run to a region final.
It was absolutely incredible.
Hopkinsville has to stand out.
I loved covering the eclipse. It was amazing. You didn't realize how big of a deal it was.
I had a burden on my heart, and I feel like God was telling me I need to come help.
Look at how Kentuckians responded to the aftermath of Hurricane Harvey in Texas and Hurricane Irma in Florida.
Words don't work. There's just feelings, and how do you put that into words?
No matter what the story is, there's an impact for someone.
Do you know what a pharmacist does?
No! We take the everyday Kentuckian and we share their story to the viewer about what they're doing.
You got a lot more people than you to be thinking about. This is forcing you not just stop and smell the roses, but realize why are you here, what's important.
I think it gives us a chance to kind of show off how good people are a lot of times.
And look at him. I mean, he's got all the moves.
When you get to highlight the positive things, the goodwill, the going above and beyond, and to highlight that makes all the bad stuff we cover, that makes the whole job worth it.
When we show those stories and we make the viewer understand what that's really like, that's what we're here for. That's what they want to know.
We just tell stories about things that are authentic to Kentucky.
To me, that means the cashier at the store, or the student in school, or the police officer in a small town.
It's the little old lady that gets up every Sunday morning and goes and donates her time to the local charity.
The average Kentuckian coming out and doing something extraordinary.
To me, it's somebody, putting others above themselves and helping someone out.
He was making this drive along US 68 with his wife and 3 children Sunday afternoon.
On our way after church, we were going to Harrisburg to my mother and father's.
The current head football coach at Woodford County High School during his playing days at UK, known for pulling down runners on the field, today credited with pulling a man to safety.
Saw some smoke kind of coming out of his car. Well, all of a sudden we saw the guy just like get on the other side of the road going to kind of like the ditch, and we saw his car started burning a little bit.
Johnson pulling off of the road, running towards the burning car.
He had a dog in the car, so we went back in the car to get the dog. So we kind of pulled him out. He was kind of, you could tell he had probably been inhaling the smoke.
Coach Johnson then carrying the man and his dog.
He really cared about the dog. It was like his kids.
Safely about 50 feet down the road.
And right when we got down far enough away, his alarm started going off. His trunk, because the smoke was going, his trunk popped open. Next thing you know, you heard a big explosion.
Coach Johnson says he is sharing his story in hopes of sending a simple but important message.
Always be kind to people. It's about helping other people. It's not about yourself, helping other people. A lot of people are in need, and so it kind of brought my life back to reality. There's always somebody out worse than you.
Johnson says the man was upset about some of the items lost in his car.
Try to reiterate to him that, that stuff can be replaced.
Some belongings lost, but both his life and his dog's life saved.
I wish him good luck, and hopefully he gets another car soon.
We talk to everyday people. That's who our stories are about, is going out into the community and talking to folks right here in the Bluegrass.
Hardworking people, people who don't know, or it's not apparent to them that they have a story to tell, and they're just doing what they do.
We seek out people who are doing something that benefits the community that other people may not be aware of.
These feet haven't walked through much life yet, just 6 years or so. Reminders along the halls of Hacker Elementary try to guide them.
We're going to have fun. We're going to play some games.
Lately, encouragement isn't enough.
What are you going to say to drugs?
No! This is one of 40 groups of young students pharmacist Robert Goforth has stood before.
Have you guys ever been to a pharmacy? Do you know what a pharmacist does?
The lesson is fittingly elementary.
Even if you're 7 or 8 or 10 or 15, you only take medicine from a trusted adult, right? Because
it's a baseline about prescription medications.
You think that's candy or medicine? Oh, I got you all. The first one was candy and the second one's medicine. They look a lot alike though, right? Yeah.
Kids learn what to look for and how to use them.
Cindy takes more medicine than instructed. Do you think that's a good choice or a bad choice? Bad choice, right?
How to store them and how to stay safe around them.
And where's the safest place to keep medicine? Locked cabinet. Yes. They thought I was crazy whenever I call the schools and I say, I want to talk to your kindergarten class, I want to talk to your first and second and third graders, and etc.
To understand why Goforth does this, you have to meet his kids. 2-year-old triplets, Christian, Abigail, and Benjamin.
Besides spending time with my children, this is what I do.
Why?
Why? Because if I don't, who's going to educate these children? Who's going to save them? Because I have 4 children, statistics are against me.
He says 25% of students leaving high school in this state will have tried illegal drugs or have an active addiction.
Substance abuse prevention is the only way. You can't cure addiction or you can't cure everything retrospectively. If you don't prevent it, we've lost the battle. No, I said locked medicine cabinet, right?
That's why he speaks to young students, hoping for state requirements for life skills lessons at every elementary school.
English scores, math scores, whatever, they don't matter. If they don't have the life skills to get through life, then none of that even matters. And 25% of our children are failing because we are failing. Right? Yeah, you guys got it.
What matters to him is creating a path these students can follow.
There is a connection with everybody on TV and the audience, to a degree. And when you get to tell that story, whatever it may be, it brings you to be a part of the family, so to speak, especially if you can continue that relationship long term.
We have the unique opportunity that when we pass something on the road or we see something in the store or we hear something on the street, our ears perk up and we think, huh, okay, that's kind of interesting.
The questions we have, I'm sure, are questions other people have and people want answered. And so when you're driving down the road and something catches your eye, if I'm wondering it, then that means someone else is wondering it too.
This guy is dancing on North Broadway. Is out of the ordinary. So that's what you highlight. You highlight that. It's just unique.
Cameron Jones is no more. In a few seconds, he'll be the king of pop. Showtime.
It's because it's something that I love to do. I've been doing it for 15 years, ever since I was 5 years old.
Who's bad? This guy is. On certain days, you can catch this Michael Jackson moonwalking blocks from North Broadway to downtown. Why?
The reason why I do Michael Jackson is because he's been a big inspiration to me. And you know, I love the way he always loved to make people happy.
Or maybe it's his human nature.
I want to be the guy who, like, you know, puts a lot of smiles on people's faces like I always do every day. And you know, now that I'm older, like, I'm doing that.
Smiles everywhere. It's like looking at the man in the mirror.
He's beast mode, man, right about now. You feel me?
He's good. He made me stop all the way over here just to come over and holler at him.
I was thinking, what is he doing? But then over time, I started to see him more. I saw you dancing, and I don't know, he makes people happy.
Sometimes people pull over on North Broadway just to take it all in, living life off the wall.
My moonwalk's not nice, though.
When those earbuds are in, this 20-year-old is consumed with everything Michael, but when the music stops, he hears the backlash.
This is what happens when you take bath salts or, like, you know, do drugs and all that sort of stuff, and I get a lot of those on Facebook.
But he tells them to beat it.
You know, people say that what I do is childish. It's not childish. What I'm doing is, like, you know, living each and every day as if it was my last day.
I love him. He's great. I swear he is. Because it's like, if you've ever heard him, he actually sounds like Michael. And look at him. I mean, he's got all the moves.
This is his way of healing the world with his talent.
If you have a talent and you really want to show it, don't be afraid to go out and do it.
And he won't stop till he gets enough.
You know, people ask me, when you're going to stop doing this? And when I'm going to stop doing this is when I take my last breath.
One of the best things about having a camera and doing stories is I get to experience, and if I get to experience it, then my viewers get to experience it, what it's really like.
We'll come across something on social media, or we'll come across something just driving around, and we'll say, well, what's going on with that? And I'm sure we're not the only ones that are either sitting on our computers or driving around wondering the same thing. And that's why we had the capability to go and figure it out.
We looked at over 30, 40 homes and eventually settled on this property, and thankfully we were able to get it because it's perfect for a haunted house.
It's not the kind of place you would want to be overnight by yourself, but perfect for what these movie makers needed for a horror flick called The Wiccan.
It is pretty much dilapidated inside, paint's falling off the interior, the floorboards are kind of giving way, starting to, but...
Movie producer Brian Sexton is a hometown boy who went to school at Sayre and found his way to California and Hollywood. He loves the idea of coming back to Kentucky to shoot his movie, and the Commonwealth made it worth it financially.
There's a tax incentive that the state provides to producers, allows me to be able to finance a movie that I couldn't get financed in California, let's say.
We follow the producer to a room near the front of the mansion, just off a spiral staircase that must have witnessed some grand parties in its day. But nothing fun about the action around the corner.
And action. This is a story about a group of kids, high school, college kids, who have nothing to do on Halloween night. And so they decide to go to the house at the end of the block that's never been ventured into.
The movie makers will work through the night, taking advantage of a place that oozes fright, dark shadows, and strange noises in the night.
I try to think from the viewer's point of view what I want to see, what I want to hear, and how I'm going to go about telling this story. Can I use music, sound effects, other special video effects? And as I think about that, and then I start reading the script, it all starts evolving in my mind. And then with the editing that we can do today, you can almost create anything you want.
History and mystery. That's what you can expect during this year's cemetery crawl at the Kentucky Horse Park. Ashley Chilton guides guests through 4 stops on the haunted tour, which begins at the Sawyer's house.
I tell a lot of ghost stories in this house.
The home now serves as an office building, and employees shared with us all kinds of supernatural stories. But there was one name that kept coming up over and over, Mrs. Sawyer's.
She has been seen outside of the house from the bus stop, looking through this window.
The only problem with that? It's not possible.
You can tell I'm nowhere near tall enough, and neither would she have been.
From there, the tour is taken by hayride to the Sawyer's family cemetery to pay your respects. Next stop?
You have insulted me!
One of the bloodiest grounds in Kentucky, the dueling grounds.
A lot of men had dueled here, lost their lives here, bloodshed here.
The reason the site was so popular is because it sits on the Fayette County-Scott County line.
So if the Fayette County Sheriff's Office came, they could jump the line into Scott County and escape that county's jurisdiction.
The final stop on the tour is one of the most popular and interactive, the Graves Family Cemetery.
So divining rods or dowsing rods are usually used to find water, but you can use them in a graveyard to find hallowed ground. And so when you cross hallowed ground, they're supposed to cross. And when you are not on hallowed ground, they will open. So we are not over a body right now.
And for the grand finale of the tour, you get to use the rods yourself to communicate with the dead.
I always like to ask them if they are at peace. Are you at peace? Yes.
I want the viewer to experience that as well. I want them to get that same little moment of aha that I got. Because if you just throw everything out there right at the very beginning, it's kind of boring.
I think everyone can remember a first love, whether it's a passion, a hobby, a person, a place, and that's what was special to me is they had something so dear pop back up so late in life.
People love that. I mean, that's what we love when we watch television or we watch movies. You love when just all of a sudden it's, oh wow, that did not go the way I thought it did. And that's really fun.
It's an emotional response to, oh, I didn't see that coming, or I didn't know the story was going to turn in this direction.
I want the viewer to experience that as well. I want them to get that same little moment of aha that I got. Because if you just throw everything out there right at the very beginning, it's kind of boring.
A little rusty.
It's a lesson.
Uh-oh.
Roger Caldwell had to learn the hard way.
Well.
When you miss, take another shot.
It's kind of heavy.
You see, it's the second chances we don't give ourselves that we grow old to regret.
Those high school crushes, they don't go away real easy.
It was 1965, and freshman cheerleader Karen Waterfill had the senior basketball star under her charm.
She was the prettiest girl in school, and she was nice.
We would go to church.
Roger held on to different memories.
We'd get kind of friendly on the bus.
Oh, I still see that 18-year-old boy.
But youthful passion has a way of turning into adult responsibilities.
We made up a story that I was away entertaining the troops.
Karen was really here in Lexington at this former home for unwed mothers. She says she never had a chance to tell Roger goodbye or that he was going to be a father.
Mother was very religious, and she just couldn't believe that I had done something like this.
If it sounds like a plot straight out of Hollywood,
I wrote you every day for a year.
You aren't far off.
She's never going to see you again.
This CBS movie from the mid-90s was inspired by their real-life romance.
Her mother told me I couldn't see her anymore.
But it's not how they were torn apart that brings on the goosebumps.
Now you speak up.
It's how they were reunited.
I really wanted to find her and thank her.
25 years after Mark Kitts was given up for adoption, gratitude filled his heart.
Tell him how grateful I was for my life. I've had a great life.
He found Karen first in 1991, then Karen called Roger.
I left a message.
The salesman looked at me and he says, "What's wrong with you?" He said, "Looks like you've seen a ghost." I said, "You don't know how close you are."
He's kept that note all these years, a scribbled name and number that changed his life forever.
I tried to find happiness, but I told these men, I said, there's a man out there that I will always love.
I drove by her house several times. I didn't want to disturb her or interfere.
So when they finally came face to face again for the first time since high school, they didn't hold a lot back.
Did you guys give each other a hug?
Oh, we did more than that.
Mark had kind of joked around the first time we all got together, and he said, well, if you two ever want to get married, he jokingly, he said, I'll be more than happy to perform the ceremony.
An offer that planted a seed.
We really weren't getting back together. We were just carrying on from where we'd been 25 years earlier.
About 3 weeks after they said hello, they said, I do.
I went into it saying I was going to offer them unconditional love.
But he didn't stop there. It was their long-lost son, Mark the minister, that pronounced them husband and wife.
The odds are not good that their marriage would last.
But it has, for the last 26 years. Even though Mark now lives in Florida, they've all grown closer since the media-filled reunion in 1991.
Did you get Roger's basketball skills?
No.
Got it. The good Lord doesn't promise you He's going to give you everything you want, but He'll give you everything you need, and we've got everything we need, and we've got each other.
All right.
Laughing.
I mean, no one wants to turn on the TV and see the same thing every day.
When you have a connection between the viewer and the content of a news story, there's a little piece of magic there. That's where things start to come together.
Turn your shoulder in, you pussy.
The Car Wrestling Academy,
Hand down, collar tie,
is where some of the city's best young grapplers go to hone their skills.
Anytime any of our wrestlers that are training here go in, they win matches and stuff like that, it's always representing our club.
As many as 60 boys hit these mats, and one young girl, 11-year-old Lauren Walton.
I went to one of my brother's practices, and I just told my parents I wanted to wrestle, and then my dad said, I don't think that's such a good idea.
It wasn't a good idea. Turns out, it was a great idea.
My last tournament that I won was in Atlantic City, and I won the girls' nationals. My first national tournament that I won was in South Carolina. I won Oklahoma nationals, and it was a girls' nationals also.
But Lauren isn't only wrestling with the boys.
State tournament in Kentucky twice, and boys state.
She's wrestling against the boys.
Probably the first time they probably all laughed, because at the time whenever I started there was like no girls.
But the boys aren't laughing any longer.
She definitely brings a different flavor to the mix, being a female.
Joseph Carr Jr. won 4 Kentucky State high school titles in his day, but now spends his time coaching young wrestlers like Lauren.
A girl trying to wrestle guys is, you're definitely dealing with a strength difference. And slowly but surely she's found herself getting better and beating some of the guys. And, a lot of people are shocked, but for us, we kind of expect that.
My coaches always tell us, like, the harder the competition, the better, because then you get pushed and it just helps you get better.
When you put the time in, you put the effort in, it doesn't really matter whether you're a female or a male, you're going to reap the benefits of the rewards.
Push. With 5 girls' national titles and 1 boys' state title under her belt, Lauren has a few other goals she'd like to pin down.
I really want to win boys high school state. That's one of my biggest goals, and I also would like to try and make it to the Olympics one day.
I think viewers at home like the underdog type stories, or the stories that give you that surprise ending.
When you have something kind of that you weren't expecting, like the Kentucky baseball team.
What Nick Mingione did was rally a sleeping giant. Basically, they were picked 8th, 9th, maybe 10th. He had 6 players drafted in the top 10 rounds. That's never happened before. No one thought Kentucky was going to do what they did. They got to host a regional for only the 2nd time in school history. They go to a super regional for the 1st time in school history, and they are 2 wins away from going to Omaha. Every raging fire needs a spark. That was the spark. Nobody knew how big that thing was going to get. There is a big blue blaze that is ready to take over Cliff Hagan Stadium for one final season, and then this new facility. You are looking at what could be the birth of the next baseball dynasty, and it's happening at UK. And that's something that no one could have thought of years ago.
when there is a big story that people are going to remember, the thought occurs to me, this is the first draft of history. This is something that decades from now people are going to be talking about.
My job is to record history, to put it in context for the time that it's in, and also think about where is this going to set for the future.
Just as a journalist, we're just trained to be able to take ourselves out of the situation but still be in the moment. So I can still feel the historical impact and the cultural impact of what was going on, but still able to step back and do a story and get both sides of people who are on both sides of the fence.
I cannot believe it.
It's an image that brings out a lot of emotion, some happy.
I think it's awesome. I hear people say this is not what democracy is. It's absolutely what democracy is.
Some angry.
This is not the way democracy looks. If I understand the facts properly today, I no longer have any respect for our Attorney General or our mayor.
And for DeBron Thomas and Russell Allen, this is a culmination of years of work.
I don't have any words. I mean, this is what we have worked for, but not only is it just something that we have worked for, it's something that we can prove to the city and to the rest of the people in this community that if you get together and stand together, you can make change.
Take Back Cheapside has worked with the city of Lexington to discuss a plan for the John C. Breckinridge and John Hunt Morgan statues for years.
Because it can be done everywhere, and we can stand up and take this statement against these type of statues and what they symbolize.
We're speaking for those who were unable to speak 130 years ago, and my soul is just, I'm just filled with so much pride.
And I don't think we would be doing our jobs correctly if we didn't look back on the past and see where or how far we've come.
Oh, it's absolutely important. I mean, this is how we keep up with our history. This is how we chronicle the times of our lives. It's absolutely history, and it's. Can you imagine if things were done this way like 1,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago?
A lot of homes have a flag hanging. It's understood there's national pride, but the stories behind the flags sometimes are history-making.
That's me. Then, I don't look a lot different, do I?
Thought it was you now. 60 years ago, Jody Rife was a screaming eagle.
101st Airborne was always ready. We could move on an hour's notice.
They were trained for war, but instead sent on a mission involving their own country.
You don't forget things like that.
And an internal battle.
Several of the 26 C-130 aircraft, which brought paratroopers of the 101st Airborne Division to Little Rock, Arkansas, based from Fort Campbell, Kentucky.
The job was to escort the Little Rock 9, integrating an all-white school in Arkansas. It would be a major event in the American Civil Rights Movement.
They came in station wagons primarily. They brought them to the school. We met them at the sidewalk and escorted them to their room. We stayed with them all day.
Rife spent about 10 days escorting the 9 to and from school, trying to calm an atmosphere of resistant change.
They had kids putting lighted cigarettes down those kids' back. They had bruises from where people had kicked them.
The troops alternated who they escorted as not to get attached. But for Rife, there was one student.
She looked pitiful. You know, she did, and so I just said, you know, this is my responsibility.
Rife escorted Minnie Jean Brown for 2 days. He says he was supposed to stay outside her classroom.
I wasn't supposed to go in the room, and but she came to the door and asked me to come in, that some kid had tripped her. And you know, you got to realize, I've got a carbine, you know, and so I said, move your foot.
Over the days, Rife and Minnie Jean Brown would exchange simple conversation.
But on the way down the sidewalk, she drops a note. She wanted me to pick it up. So I did, I just stuck it in my pocket. That's what she had scribbled that note on there, just thank you so much for watching over me and protecting me when I needed it.
Years and decades passed. That mark in history, though, remained.
So I just decided I would see if I could contact her and see if she remembered me.
Rife found Minnie Jean Brown's email and sent her a quick note. She quickly responded.
I remember you and the events as if it were yesterday. When I saw your name, all I could feel was how you actually saved my life. There was this person who was nice to me, whether by orders or by choice, didn't matter.
Rife and Brown still correspond every now and then about family and work and life, not by orders, but by choice.
And I think that's one of the downfalls of social media, is that as much good as it has brought into the world, especially in our profession, helping us connect to our viewers, it has given us very short memories. We lose historical context. You know, we're living in the moment so much, and we're so sped up that we forget about where we've been. A lot of times we lose historical context.
Covering the eclipse and being out in Hopkinsville on the ground, seeing it was kind of a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Everyone there just felt togetherness, really.
It lasted for 2 minutes and 40 seconds. The Great American Eclipse was a spectacle to see, and Orchardale Farm was the place to view this amazing event.
It's a miracle, isn't it?
Honestly, amazing. It's amazing the creation that God has given to us. You know, something that the sun is so far away, but the moon fits perfectly over it.
So you look around, and there's this complete sunset all the way around you. And then you're standing in darkness. That feeling right there is incredible. I've never experienced anything like it.
It was absolutely incredible. Felt like it was nighttime, except for the glowing all around you. It was pretty amazing.
Knowing how I felt, seeing my facial expression, then looking around, seeing everybody else having the same thing. In that moment, you know, I'm experiencing what they're experiencing, and I can, as a journalist, I can tell that story efficiently because I've experienced that too, and that's a very unique experience.
It was amazing. It was unlike anything I've ever seen, and I'm glad that I got to experience, because it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and it was very cool.
That to me just is astonishing.
I mean, being able to follow the eclipse, it's a great excuse for a vacation and destinations you really wouldn't think about.
It was a whole lot of light and a story that was about nothing but darkness.
We thought they were having glasses here, so we came over, and then everybody just started forming a line behind us.
Anybody that can share? 250 eclipse glasses were handed out.
Super.
And gone in minutes.
Now, see this one? This one here's starting to glow.
Street lights came on when the sky grew darker. Outside air became cooler. It was as if it was cloudy, yet it wasn't.
It's gonna go completely dark.
In the final moments of that eclipse, there was this lady and her young son who were sitting there not able to watch the eclipse because they didn't have glasses. I actually had a pair with me. So I just handed her this, $10 pair of eclipse glasses. You would have thought that I had given her a piece of gold.
So we all experienced it at the same time. Usually we're out at a scene experiencing something, gathering facts, and then relaying it to the folks at home. But we're looking up at the sky or watching the TV just like they are. And so the emotions we're feeling and the questions that we have are the same ones that you would find in the people who watch our station.
We had school kids, college students, adults, professors, everybody came out.
I feel like it's just honest to God awesome.
A sentiment shared by everyone, young and old, on Eastern Kentucky University's campus today. From activities for kids
You had a lot of water
to the main event.
Yeah!
Fadila Mance watched an eclipse in Chicago in 1994 and did not want to miss this one today.
I don't really fully remember seeing the eclipse. I just remember my mom being so adamant about, you need to wear your glasses, and she taped them on so I wouldn't pull them off.
It was just a fun day to get to be a journalist. It really was.
I was down at a Boy Scout camp in Western Kentucky, and the last time even a partial solar eclipse had happened anywhere in the U.S., I don't think a lot of those kids had been born yet. So seeing their eyes light up at something like this and get to experience that together was really, really something.
With Kentuckians,
When there's a call to do something, they don't wait, they don't ask, they react.
From one horse capital to another.
And in this community, people really back each other.
Lexingtonians are backing Texans.
Kentuckians will never stop giving. I think that's ingrained in their mind to give and give. You give till it hurts, and you give till you don't have anything else to give, and then you dig down, you find something else.
One gentleman drove himself and his boat and got into the waters of Houston.
I had a burden on my heart, and I feel like God was telling me I need to come help.
The old boy grabs his bass boat and takes off and goes down there and helps all those people. That's amazing. That's Kentucky right there to the absolute core.
Kentuckians can relate to this because we suffer through a lot of flooding, we suffer through a lot of tornadoes, and we ourselves have needed help many, many times, and people have come to our aid as well.
A guy from Lincoln County, he told me that we come down and they say, "You're such a blessing to us." But he told me, I'm the one that gets the blessing by helping.
Many would say that Barry Jeffries is known for growing congregations.
In Kentucky for 20 years, pastored 2 churches in Kentucky, Emmanuel Baptist Church in Danville, Kentucky, and then Lancaster Baptist Church in Lancaster.
He's been in Houston 13 years, but today, instead of building up a church, he's helping to tear it down after Hurricane Harvey wreaked havoc on it, much of the community of Humble.
3, 6, 8, 12 feet. We had church members 16 feet of water.
Pet food, diapers, and formula were collected and stacked into 2 trailers in Stanford. Mike Smith and Mike Baston drove all night and all day to get them to Jeffries Church.
I don't even think about it, just do it. You put your pains and your personal things aside and you just do it.
You know, I've joked and said that not only are we a disaster relief site, we are a disaster site.
Jeffrey says he can look at this with a smile because the stuff from the storm wouldn't last anyway.
That what's important is what's permanent, not stuff that's temporary. And what's permanent is our relationship with God, our relationship with one another.
And I had a number of people, victims of the flooding, tell me, had it not been for that group from Kentucky, I don't know what I would have done.
When you watch the people of Kentucky, and especially Central Kentucky, because that's what we get to see all the time, the way they jump in and want to help, it's like they can't get there fast enough. And so we do a lot of stories on, people either raising money or collecting supplies or getting groups together to go down there and help people. And that makes you feel good when you're doing stories like that.
So that's one of the things that I love about this place, and one of the reasons I love being here is the spirit of the people and the heart of the people.
It's very moving to see how people were affected by the flooding and the devastation, but also how Kentucky fans will rally around their coach and their team and lend a helping hand.
When you're a Kentucky Wildcat, you're more than just a basketball player. They're elevated to another level. So when they have an opportunity to help out, like say with our telethon, it's a perfect match of what they're able to do, and a lot of them take that on to the next level.
When Coach Cal brings in the players for the telethon, they don't know what they're getting into. But when Kevin Knox picks up the phone and someone says, yeah, here's $5,000 on behalf of ABC Company, and then it happens again, and he brings in $10,000, he's like, wow, this is pretty cool.
Cal loves using that position of being the head coach at Kentucky to affect others and to bring, in this case, to bring help to others.
We've got shirts and stuff, so.
Okay, wonderful.
Let me tell you why we're doing this. We raised the money. I know they're taking us through here. We're going to watch this, and then they're going to take us to one of the centers.
The $1 million plus raised by Coach Cal on the Teaming Up for Houston Telethon is a relatively small donation given the scope of this disaster, but important nonetheless.
$1 million is a drop in the bucket, but also for us, it's going to do so much in the community. It's helping so many people right now. We're seeing just with the client assistance part that's happening today, and so to see the coach here and him be able to see the dollars that were raised in Kentucky used so well, it's just amazing.
We're just here kind of watching and looking and trying to take stuff back to Kentucky to say your money was well invested, and we believe that in all the events we've done with American Red Cross. It's about you people. So, thank you.
When you see those stories about Kentuckians doing good things, those stories that I'm sure happen every day, but people might not talk about them every day, we might not hear about it every day, that makes people feel good because it gives you hope. It gives you hope that there are good people in the world and they're my neighbors.
Hurricane Irma happened and all the hurricanes along the Gulf Coast. I went down to Florida. We stayed in parts of northern Florida to just see some of the destruction and help cover what was going on down there. While we don't experience hurricanes here in Kentucky, there were Kentuckians that came down to Florida just to help out. A lot of the electric companies and even EMS crews were some of the people I talked to that had come down. And a lot of them were saying the same thing of, if this was us in this situation, we would want help from the outside too. It was amazing to see people that didn't even know each other, have never met each other, just come together to help each other.
Well, that goes a lot to show with the kind of people Kentuckians are and the kind of leadership that Kentuckians have, where when something happens, the first thing people say is, how can we help?
Hello, my little new princess.
Yeah. The Tobin family has a new addition, Olivia Celine.
Yeah.
Still chokes me up to hold her. But here's another name they'll always remember, Irma. The hurricane forced Erica, 9 months pregnant, and her husband Daniel to evacuate their home in Deltona, Florida, along with their kids, Naomi and Daniel, and another due at any time.
I did not want to deliver this baby on the side of the road.
So they set off for Ohio, where they have family, but their truck had other ideas.
And then it started to get louder and louder and louder, and then she noticed it. And I played it off because I didn't want to worry her.
But the truck broke down just as the Tobins rolled into the parking lot of St. Joseph East in Lexington.
The anxiety sent me into labor. They decided to keep me, and it was baby time.
And thankfully, little Olivia was born healthy. Folks heard the Tobin's story and made sure they had everything they needed, from food to a home to stay, even somewhere to store their truck until it's fixed.
The outpour of love and support from this community has been incredible. Just breathtaking.
So much so that they're not quite ready to leave.
How cold does it get here?
I don't know why we haven't been here before.
One thing they do know, they'll never forget the people who helped them through a storm in their lives and welcomed a new life into the world.
Dad!
All they have is what they brought with them from Florida, and within a few hours, people in the community here in Lexington had started volunteering to help them with things.
When times get tough, we stick together. And today in the St. Joseph East Hospital room, those words held true.
Over the past 12 hours, hundreds of people have rallied behind a worthy cause to make a good thing happen for a good family. We've raised $4,000, and a local car dealership, Dan Cummings, has vowed to help us get you into a reliable car today.
Photographer Kelsey Malakoit from Paris heard about what had happened and wanted to help. So she decided to sell t-shirts and mugs online that read "Kentucky Cares" and "So Do I" to help raise money.
Oh my gosh, no way you're holding her! I'm just super thankful. Like, it blows my mind how Lexington kind of bands together.
A stranger with a big heart and a family who was counting their blessings.
That sticks with you. It's why, you know, you have things go viral now, is because of moments like that.
We present information, we present emotion, we present the good and the bad, everything.
The fabric of the community, the fabric of this area that we call home, and you know, there are lots of stories out there.
A lot of people appreciate the kind of gestures of doing something. There's always something you can do.
Those kind of stories, I mean, they warm your heart, and you know, and a good one about makes you cry.